Hey guys, the first official Diablo 4 campfire livestream going over a bunch of different information, things coming in the future, changes, buffs and all that kind of stuff has just finished. We've watched through the whole thing, so now we're going to recap some of the details that you're going to want to know. Perhaps the greatest thing to know is that class buffs and rebalancing will be coming soon. They are listening to feedback and there'll be more information in another big livestream coming in July. But there's loads more to talk about that I think a lot of people will be happy with. There's going to be some big XP buffs coming to Nightmare dungeons. There was a whole talk about people running normal dungeons because they're more efficient and effective at getting XP, and of course Nightmare dungeons are where you're meant to be in the endgame, so these are getting buffed. They're going to have more XP and more rewards, and they're working on a really cool system where using the Nightmare Sigil will teleport you straight to the Nightmare dungeon, which effectively removes the downtime of repeating Nightmare dungeon after Nightmare dungeon. They stressed that this is a difficult change for them to make, but they are working on it to hopefully come before Season 1, which is great news because Season 1 is in mid to late July, so this big patch that's coming, which will have a whole load of other things in it that we'll talk about, should be coming in roughly the next 4 weeks. They say this is going to be a chunky client patch, and within the balance changes they want to make sure every class is viable to play. Honestly, from hearing the developers talk about it themselves, they seem like really down-to-earth and intelligent people, where they talked a lot about the things that we wanted to know as a community, and gave great details and examples into their thought process and why they're making the changes they are. For instance, they say they want the players to have a lot of choices in where to level. They also expanded on the fixing of loot caves for being a good thing in the game. They've re-evaluated the baseline for the number of elites that they want in dungeons, with the longer dungeons including more elites than shorter dungeons, since that just kind of makes sense. Furthermore, they expanded on our philosophy where we would rather everything else be buffed than to nerf something powerful and fun. They said it doesn't usually work this way because it requires more balance changes by buffing multiple different classes, and you end up with certain values being changed by like 600,000%. Shout out to the Whirlwind Barbarian. Going back to the elites in dungeons, they also say now that they've established their new baseline, they're looking to go up instead of down, which is something that I definitely like to hear. They also touched on a massive topic that people were very frustrated about, and that is the renown, the map Fog of War, and the altars of Lilith, and whether or not they will carry over into Season 1. Well, they've officially confirmed that your altars of Lilith will carry over into the next season, and some of your renown will carry over with that. That includes all of the renown for getting the altars of Lilith and for clearing the Fog of War on the map. But you will only have the major city waypoints unlocked, meaning there are still other things to unlock and do on the map in order to max the renown out. So in Season 1, you won't have your full renown rewards, but you will have your altars of Lilith and the renown for completing the Fog of War on the map. This means we're probably going to get the first 2 renown rewards on our new season characters. And if you've already got those altars of Lilith, you won't be needing to get them again. So those juicy stat bonuses will come along with you. They did confirm that side quests will reset in the new season, so it's something to do, and these changes will also impact your alts after Season 1. Remember, Season 1 comes in mid to late July, while the big patch changes such as the Nightmare XP buff will be coming in the next 4 weeks or so. They also touched on the gem system and how there's inventory tension, which is where stuff clutters up your inventory and is frustrating. They say they're planning for Season 2 onwards to make an overhaul of the gem system, where instead of being in your inventory, they will appear in a material or currency tab, and then you will craft gems with this new currency. They also talked about substat resistances. They said how going up in each world tier actually lowers your resistances, which makes you weaker. So you want to get resistances on your armor, but they aren't giving as much as they hoped they would, so they aren't quite as valuable to the player. They said they wanted to reevaluate this and buff them, but it might be a thing for the future. They also mentioned how armor gives you physical resistance and then half as much elemental resistance. So armor seems like a pretty good stat overall. They also said they want to rework how the teleporting to a party member works, but didn't give any more details than that. Also, the teleport bug where hardcore players were getting killed in loading screens is also something that's going to be fixed in a hotfix coming soon. And they spoke about a potential disconnect protection system for hardcore players, where once the server detects that you've disconnected abruptly, it will trigger you to use your scroll of protection automatically. They also said that the level locked caches you get from defeating high tier world bosses will be removed so that you can open them, but the items inside might still be level locked. Furthermore, if you're a druid and you've been getting a lot of barbarian uniques instead of druid uniques, they confirmed that is a bug and will be fixed before Season 1. Alongside this, there's going to be a bunch of stability and performance fixes, which I love to hear. They touched on resource usage not being quite as good as they want it to, so buffs are coming, but they want to be very careful because this can break the game if you have infinite resource regeneration. They also talked about the material caps in the game for things like veiled crystals, where you have a maximum amount you can hold. They gave an example of veiled crystals having a 10k cap, and for very hardcore players they're reaching that cap and then they're wasting their crystals. They said that this will be increased and it will come before Season 1. They also gave an interesting statistic where they say a significant majority, which probably is about 80 or 90% of players, haven't finished the campaign in the game yet. More of the exact details will be coming soon. In early July we're going to get a whole bunch of Season 1 details, and the actual patch notes will be coming out in the next 4 weeks or so. It was really cool watching the live stream and hearing them give the feedback and their thoughts and reasonings behind everything. It's often easy to get caught up when playing the game with how you personally feel, but at the end of the day there are millions of players playing the game, and they need to account for everyone while keeping the game stable. Personally, I'm very excited to see the class changes and buffs that will be coming. A lot of the fixes sound very promising, and the buff to XP from Nightmare Dungeons and the automatic teleporting when using a sigil is definitely a highlight for me. So tell me what you're excited for out of all of these details, and the 2 videos on screen now we think you'll really enjoy if you did enjoy this video. You don't have to watch them if you don't want to, but if you did like this video, you're probably going to like these ones too. And then tell us what you think after watching in the comments down below.